Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Women Like Me Stories in Business. I'm your host, Julie Fairhurst, and today, we're going to get into some really, really great content for you all. So, let me tell you a little bit about, oh, you know what? I'm going to get you to say your last name. So, it's Elle
Jimeno. And I always
Jim.
say it's like jalapeno.
Oh, Jimeno. Perfect. Well, thank you for that. I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your last name. So, Elle is a marketing strategist and the founder of Elevate Creative. Now, Elle has spent almost 15 years in the marketing industry helping businesses across North America build websites and online brands that truly connect with their audience. So, through Elevate Creative, she's on a mission to help owners stand out and show up with confidence, create a presence that feels aligned and authentic. But today's conversation is going to go way deeper than websites and marketing. So, Elle is also going to shape the deeper story behind the woman and the business, her experience of being adopted, feeling like she didn't belong, being bullied, navigating social anxiety. That's a big one. Learning how to build a business while healing old wounds. So, this conversation is about overcoming trauma while continuing the entrepreneurial journey and how we can connect with our part of our healing as well. So, Elle, thank you so much for being here. I'm really happy to have you here, and I can't wait to dive into the conversation. So, let me get started real quickly. Elle, can you tell us how you start? Can you start by telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Well, I am a mom of two, under four. And I basically started my business after, funny enough, being laid off. I was laid off from what I felt was my dream job. I was absolutely heartbroken. And that former employer of mine actually ended up being my first client for Elevate Creative. So, when life throws you lemons, it definitely made the lemonade.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow, that's and good for you for being let go. No grudges. You want to work? Come on over here. I'll work with you. That's such a great attitude to have. Absolutely. So when you mentioned growing up with the word, I don't even know if I can pronounce it, upon
Ampon, yes.
ampon
Yeah.
around you. So how did that, well, first of all, maybe so that for the listeners that don't understand the definition of that word, if you could tell us that and then tell us how that affected you, what that label was like as a child.
Yeah, absolutely. So ampon is a noun, actually. It's almost like a name for someone who was adopted. So growing up, obviously there's a lot of gossip around like the villages in the Philippines where I was born. And parents would talk about what's happening, the usual gossip, and it would feed into the children's ears, and they don't realize that they're listening, but it eventually transferred over to the streets when we're playing, and it became the default mockery and taunting for me that like, oh, you're adopted and stuff like that, which is kind of funny because that's how I found out I was adopted. That is how I found out I was adopted. I
Oh,
must have been 5 or 6 years old, being taunted out onto the streets. I was always the smallest one. You would almost call me like the runt of the litter. And I ran home just crying my eyes out. And I walked in. My mom said, "What's wrong?" I was like, "Well, they keep telling me that I'm adopted." And my mom, I will never forget it because she handled this topic like a boss. And she looked at me and she said, "Okay, so what? We love you all the same." And for being that young, I kind of looked at her and she kind of just said it so, like, there's nothing to it, that I just said, "Okay." And I didn't ask anything else. Throughout my life, I found out obviously in an unconventional way that I wasn't from my mother.
mhm.
And she handled it so effortlessly. And I think that took like the weight off my chest. Like it wasn't a horrible label to be because it's not.
No, of
And
course.
yeah, and growing up with, you know, I don't know if it still happens today, but I've definitely witnessed it a number of times with either siblings or parents making a joke out of one of their kids being adopted has been one of the revolving topics throughout my life, which really makes me just raise an eyebrow. Like, so what? Like, how
Yeah.
is that something to joke about, you know?
Yeah.
I was taken from a life of poverty where my parents couldn't take care of my medical bills, and I didn't go through the regular adoption system. My,
Oh.
yes, my biological mother actually knocked on my adopted mother's doorstep. Um, Quite cinematically, really. Apparently, it was a rainy night. She got a knock on the door, and my mother said, I have a child. I've heard that you have been trying to have another child for years, but couldn't conceive. I have a really sick baby. I don't have my partner with me. We are not together. I'm alone raising this child, and I just want her to have a better future. And so that night, my mother said, why don't you take her home one last time? Really think about your decision. And if you're sure, come back here tomorrow and we'll talk more. And that was that. Very unconventional, but it's given me a great life. And it's a selfless act that my biological mother did because I wouldn't have survived otherwise.
No. Wow. Wow. That's actually such a beautiful story in terms of love. Oh,
Absolutely.
oh,
Absolutely.
wow. Wow. Well, that was such a positive, beautiful story you told. We should just end it now because I don't want to go into all the any negative stuff. Oh my goodness. No, really, that is, and the way your mother handled it, beautiful. Yeah. Just like, so what? What does that got to do with
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
never grew up feeling like I was lied to or anything like that. I kind of just
Yes.
found
Yeah.
out in a quite rather
Yes.
mean way, but I mean, you're young enough to kind of take things as face value
Yes.
and not think anything out of it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. And I think it's such a testament to the way that she dealt with it in terms of there was like it could have been dealt with very differently, and you could have been walking around with shame and embarrassment and everything else on your shoulders for life. But she just in a second took all that away. That's something I hope that anybody listening would be able to learn just from
yeah, it was
this.
very matter of fact for sure.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Well, you shared that people close to you seem to be betting on your failure. What was that all about? And how did that impact you when you were growing up?
Well, I wasn't a planned adoption, as I mentioned, right? It was very unconventional and back in the Philippines and back then people just had more siblings. So I think my dad had like maybe 8 siblings each. And
Wow.
this adoption was a surprise. So not everyone agreed with it. And over the years, especially in my youth and adolescence, when rebellion started to come out,
Yeah.
there was a lot of harsh words that have always been said, like, you shouldn't have adopted her. We told you. And it
Oh,
was really heartbreaking. And there were, words that were shared, like, I shouldn't have given you my last name. There were a lot of words that cut deep.
yeah.
Um, so a lot of people were just kind of like, you know what? This trash is where she came from, and that's where she's gonna go back to. It's a lot of what echoed around me. So I didn't have anyone else to really depend on mentally but myself. And I was not willing to back down. I wasn't willing to let people narrate my story and
Mhm.
how it's going to be. And I think that was one of the things that really set the tone for the rest of my life. It's like, no, you don't get to
Wow.
dictate what
Wow.
happens from here on.
Yeah. Wait, well, when you look back on that, what do you wish that that young girl would have been told, or what would you have told her?
I would have told her that not everyone understands and everyone deals with their own wounds, and that comes out in different ways. and it's not
Mhm.
always about you. You know, everyone has their own sense of protecting the people they love. And for many around me, that was my mother and my father because I was the outsider.
Right.
And I think it's nice to be able to look back on my history with a fresh lens now as an adult and having a more complex and understanding of what really happened. Was it
Yes.
right to happen? Did I deserve to hear a lot of those words? No, but did I hold it against them? No, they have their own wounds to
Yeah.
battle, and I was just part of it.
Yeah. Well, and so how did that affect you as you grew up? Were you someone that stayed small and quiet to protect yourself?
Absolutely. I was the shyest girl. Little girl me would never think that I would be here speaking to you.
Yeah.
I would have never felt like I was confident and worth hearing. But obviously I've evolved so much over the years. But yeah, I was so shy. I got bullied so much. My mom had a very passive approach to that. She was just kind of like, just ignore them.
Yeah.
Which is a common thing, but I really did not trust myself for a long time. You know, I really felt that I was small for a very long time. And it wasn't until I decided to step out of my comfort zone, aka leaving my family home at a young age with $0 in my bank account, that really kind of pushed my limit. I went from, okay, this is a hard situation and I'm walking into another difficult situation, but this situation is what's going to help me expand and grow. So I
Hmm.
kind of chose my heart.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So many people can't get over their trauma of, and being spoken to like that certainly is trauma, no matter, especially as a teenager, we're lashing out for just because we're teenagers, that's what we do. But then to have those words spoken to you, how do you overcome that and then start to build a business? Like, how do you overcome that and actually um, build a positive life?
It it definitely took a proactive approach to healing. You know, I've gone to therapy. I've really sat in my experiences and kind of like took a better look at what happened to me. And I guess like I've always had this trait that's like, you know what, I'm not gonna take that. I've
Mhm.
always had that approach.
Yeah.
And it may have been not such a loud voice inside me as such a shy little girl, but that voice as I got older just became louder and louder until actually it felt almost like I was going to burst because for every little thing I had something to say. I always have my first hand up and I still am, you'll see me going to like conferences, networking, whatever. There's a question, I'm at the first to have my hand up. I always
Wow.
have a lot to say, but now I kind of just come to this point of like, am I speaking to the right crowd for this? Because I also like to preserve my own energy.
Mhm.
And I've learned that I have been through so much relying on myself that it almost kind of felt like a natural segue into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because who else, when you've been laid off, when you've been mistreated in workplaces and such, you get to this point of like, you know what? I'm just gonna try to do this on my own, like I always have, and see
Yes.
what happens. You learn from
Yes.
experience.
You do. Yes, absolutely. So, were there moments in your entrepreneurship where your body reacted as if you were back in those painful experiences?
Oh, absolutely. I remember walking into my first networking event and holy cow, my entire body just froze up. I felt almost like I was a little girl again, walking into a room of what I felt was very established, confident women. And I felt intimidated. I felt scared. I felt small again. But
Mm.
guess what? The best thing happened that day. I wasn't treated the same way that I was when I was a little girl. Nobody looked down on me. Nobody said hurtful words. Actually, quite opposite. They just welcomed me with open arms. And honestly, I have to say that this was one of the starting points of my healing journey because these community of women became my community. After losing so much and experiencing so much pain in my life, I found my people that understood what
Mm.
pain was, what growth was. And I just, all it took for me was to keep showing up for myself until what felt like was completely unsafe, it started to feel like home because I started to train my body that this isn't dangerous. You're safe here. You will be okay. These people, the women that you're surrounded with, they got you.
Wow. I think that's so beautiful that you said that because I go to a fair amount of networking groups, and I agree with you. I think that we need our tribe. Women need women, whether we like it or not. Women need women, and and I know that feeling of walking into that new networking group where you
Mm.
don't know a soul. But I've experienced the same thing, and the reason I'm bringing this up because of what you just said is I want anyone out there to know, any women out there to know that they need to not need it would be good for them to be able to get out and experience other if you're in business, especially if you're in business for yourself, to get out there and network with other women, like-minded women. And you're so right, they are just arms open. There's no judgment, there's no, and they just want to help. Everybody just wants to help everybody. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm a strong believer as well that to have confidence in what you offer in your business, you have to be confident in yourself first,
Yes.
first
Yes.
and foremost. And I see and witness, obviously, working with a lot of business owners, there is that like there's something holding them back because they feel too shy to get themselves out there, to represent themselves. And in turn, that actually causes a block in your own business. You're holding yourself back because you have this tiny bit of doubt in the back of your mind.
Yeah. it and it's not real, like that fear that you I know for years it was like, oh my goodness, oh, do I really want to do this? And then you just get to that point where it's do or die. We live in an
Mhm.
age, and even before, even years before, it was just different because we didn't have like the social media
Yeah.
aspect, although it's been around for a long time now. But when I started, I was a real estate agent in 1991. Well, you need to be visible.
Yeah.
And that was my hardest part. I had bus benches. I couldn't drive down that street past my bus bench. It would just, so, but you have to get over that to be able to gain success or just to even make a living. And I think we're in that same situation now. It's actually easier because there isn't that cost attached so much anymore. But I find we as women have a really hard time being visible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that also that we go through a cycle in life of trends and such, and we went from completely wanting, well, we still do want to be visible online, but
Yes.
here's the thing, when you're trying to be visible online, you don't have much control over that as much as the algorithm does.
Yes.
And but then when you show up in person, you have all the control of the impression that can be made from your presence. So I think there's power in being able to represent yourself, not just digitally, but in person physically as well.
I'm so happy that you said that because you're right. Absolutely. You are absolutely right. Well, let me ask you, how do you know when you were reacting from something of the past instead of responding to something in the present?
It takes some practice to really get to know your body and understand what is a gut feeling and what is fear. That is the biggest learned separation on my end that it's like what am I feeling and I take a beat. I don't react right away to what's going on in my body. I seek to understand it first. So that has been the biggest thing, and again, practice makes perfect. The more that you do it with yourself, the more you start to trust. All right, is this fear? Am I just scared of something? Or is there something in my gut that's telling me like this is not the right type of energy for me? And then you have to kind of logic it out. Like for me, I share both creative and logical sense,
Yes.
and I always kind of weigh it out, like what is it? And it helps me to either mentally do like a notepad of like, okay, what's scary about this? What's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? And to me, being able to see that and really kind of ration it out helps me so much in how
Yeah.
I'm going to approach that.
Yes. Love that. What's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? And when you look at those two things, it doesn't make them as scary.
No, no. And I
Yeah.
also come to realize that for every new room I walk into, absolutely, I still like really nervous. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And there are absolutely days that I'm still like, I don't know if I want to go to this anymore. But every 100% of the time, I get in my car after leaving that event and I'm filled with so much more energy. And to
Mhm.
me, that is the validation that like, that wasn't real. You were scared because you started to step back into your experiences, and you going into these events actually puts you into the present moment and start to overwrite some of the like more negative experience that you've had. It's
Yeah.
building more positive experience on top of your negative experiences that really rewrites that story narrative in your brain.
Yeah. Perfect. Wow. You are a woman full of wisdom. So I love that. Just love it. I want to shift our gears a little bit. Let's get into a little bit about a business because, again, women have, they struggle. They struggle with a lot of this. So, what led you into marketing and eventually into starting your own brand company, Elevate Creative?
It all started with a wonderful teacher. I've always known I wanted to be in marketing since I was in high school. Um, and it was fascinating to me because I get to be both analytical and I get to be creative, which are the things that I want to make sure are checked off, right? I can't do one without the other. I need that variety. I need that balance. And it gives me that. I'm the type of person that loves to find patterns. Like that's me. I was the word cross girl. I was, find the words. Like that was me. All strategy, all creativity, and I love it. I love having to put the puzzle pieces together. That's
Mhm.
what to get me going. And it went from like really one thing to another, but I never strayed. I've always gone through my marketing programs. And before I even finished my practicum, I already landed a job at like an agency. So for me, it was just I kept working hard at what I was doing until I was like, I came to a point where I'm like, I'm really good at what I do. And sometimes you realize that you outgrow the places that you're at. And that's when I start to decide, like, you know what, I want more. I want to see what I can achieve on my own terms, on my own agenda. Like, I just wanted to see. Because the
Mhm.
biggest thing that that I want to avoid is regretting not trying something. That has
Oh.
been an itch for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't want to be sitting on the porch in our old age going, nah, well, I was
Yeah.
too scared to do that.
Yes, and you know what? It's just an added bonus for me to have my two girls witnessing their mother be that too.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that also, speaking of, that actually turns back to my own mother. So my mother was manager of Philippine Airlines for a long time. And sometimes she would take me into work. And in the
Yeah.
Philippines, we're quite formal still. You walk into a mall and they'll be like, hello, ma'am, hello, sir. Like they'll open the doors for you. And that's just how I grew up. And my mom she was an amazing leader. And even at a young age, I saw her walk me into her office and I was like, good morning, ma'am Lucy. Good morning. And they would be like, oh, good. Like she was a wonderful boss. And I think that subconsciously, I thought in my head, I'm like, wow, like I want to feel respected like that. So
Mhm.
I think that really put that set the roots down for me that it's like, I want to be like my mom.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yes. So you've been in business for almost 5 years now. So what has surprised you most about being an entrepreneur?
Oh gosh. So, I mean, you wouldn't believe this when I told if I told you this, but I honestly didn't think I would be building websites.
No.
It is it is my main thing that I do now, and it was the one thing I said I'm gonna do. Like, I've had experience with every type of marketing you think of, but I actually said to myself, I'm gonna do everything except websites. Guess what? It's the number one thing that I do right now, and I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Um,
Yeah. Well,
so
it's your creativity and your logical path meeting
yes.
together.
Yes, so I do like branding and websites. And you know what I realize is that I'm not just able to use my creativity, I get to speak with different individuals and understand what they want. Because you know
Mm.
what I realize about local business owners is that they have so many ideas floating. And because of my love for patterns and like putting puzzles together, I don't have I guess like a plan when I do my consultations. I let it come out naturally and organically, and I tell people, you tell me whatever it is that you need to get out. Doesn't have to be in any type of order, and I will put the pieces together for you. Because sometimes people, not everyone has that skill to understand what they want. Like they have an idea in their head, but they can't put it down on paper, which is why people come to me. Because it's like, I have this, I feel like this is supposed to be this, this, this. I'm like, let me put it together for you and let me give you a visual representation of your brand that you'd be proud of. And I think that's my biggest skill is I have really good listening skills and I can put things together and I can paint a picture. And my favorite part of it all is when they look at my final work and they're like, you have no idea what you've done. You have completely just put everything I had like in my vision and put it down on something I can see. And that's so rewarding for me because I'm like, yes, I got it right. You know?
Oh, you're so right because a lot of people, we're all very different. We all have different talents and skills, but to be able to take the bits and pieces and put them together so that you can show them that flow, the marketing flow, which is very important, is yeah, is so needed. Absolutely. So let me ask, did entrepreneurship bring up wounds that you already thought that you dealt with?
Oh, 100%. Especially working alone. I mean, it's different from being in an office and being able to bounce ideas with XYZ. You literally just have yourself to sit with and be like, is this the direction that you want to go? So you have to absolutely like learn to trust yourself in and out. And I say that so mildly, but it's such a big thing. Not everyone trusts their gut. Not
Mhm.
everyone trusts like that feeling of like this is the direction you want to go or is it not? So I think that's my biggest strength in that. But I mean, the social anxiety that comes up with my upbringing, that comes up when I go to events. Um, I have a quirk. I have a quirk. It doesn't harm me by any way, but
Yeah.
when I go to events, especially new rooms and new people, it's hard for me to eat. I will take something on my plate, I'll put it on my table, but that's part of my social anxiety. It's really, really difficult for me to eat in front of like in a new room with new people. And I've always had it since actually high school. Like I was that person that would hide with my lunch because I didn't want people to watch me eat.
Oh,
So if
interesting.
you've ever like
Yeah.
seen a video of me and I have this running joke about my cookie, my emotional support cookie. So when I leave a networking event, if there is a cookie there, you can bet your whole life that I would take that cookie, put it in my purse, and I would sit in my car after the event, take a bite out of my cookie, and exhale. That is and I call it my emotional support cookie
Your
because I
emotional
get to
support
like,
cookie. We all need an emotional support cookie. Absolutely. Well, let me ask you, how has your personal story shaped the way you serve your clients?
oh, it's very, very deep rooted, you know, like For someone that was so timid and shy and just like what I felt was a run to the litter back then, to now having a voice of my own, the confidence to show up for myself and for others, and giving the people that strength and courage to show up for themselves, it just transfers over naturally. I
Mm.
wanted so badly to leave a footprint. And I think that a big part of me feels like, especially when I work with businesses that I really, really feel connected to their products and services, which is an important part for me. I need to believe in your product services and I need to see the strength and the uniqueness of it because that's how I can make you stand out, right? It's a part of the job. And I think that that passion to be able to do that, to make people stand out the way that I want to stand out, it just, it's like breathing. Like I just do it naturally, and I feel that pe when people work with me, they feel that way too. They feel heard. They feel like they're being understood. They feel like I can understand who they are in every aspect and really visually present that. That's where that trust comes in. Now, it doesn't always feel like I always like tell people like just trust the process. This is one step at a time, and not everyone always understands where it's going. But once they see the final product, they're like, "Oh my God!" Like I told you, just be patient with me.
It's I have had, being in real estate, I had three custom websites built, and then I've retired, and now I do Women Like Me, and I've had a couple other custom websites built. It's a lot of work, and not just for you, the designer, but for the business owner to again, like, what's the vision? How, what do you want to say? What do you want people to realize when they read that or when they land on there? It's a lot of important thought that needs to
Uh-huh.
go into that website because that's your business window.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us, who do you help? Who do you help in your business?
I help local business owners who are really in that stage of their business where they are comfortable to be seen, are tired of shying away from like actually sharing the website that they try to build themselves, and feel like, okay, they kind of feel disconnected from their own brand. So now they need some help being able to step into the brand that they've evolved into. Because everyone at some point, especially if you have always tried to grow your business, you do hit a point where you're like, oh, I don't really feel connected to the brand that I once created. And that's usually when people like come to me and be like, hey, I need a little bit of help because I don't feel like it represents me or my business anymore. And that's when we get to work.
Yeah. And if you're feeling that as a business owner, that disconnection, that needs to be fixed because if you're feeling it, that means everybody else out there who's looking at your brand, looking at your website, they're going to be feeling that disconnection as well.
Absolutely. And what people don't realize is like building your business, your brand, and connecting with your brand is not far off from nurturing a human relationship. It's not. You know, just like if you have a partner or you have children, you have to nurture that relationship. If you feel like something is off, that changes the flow and the vibe of your home. It's the same thing with how you connect with your products, your services, your brand, your business. If something feels off, figure out what it is because that's a bottleneck in your growth.
Right, right. So, what does standing out really mean in the online world today?
Well, this is a loaded question because everyone has their own um, opinion of what that should be. You know, like for me, I'm going to simplify it. I've seen anything and everything in marketing. I've seen all the fluff that you could think of. So I kind of see things through a very different lens. I see it as everything around us is being marketed to us. And it's not just products, not just services, they're ideas, opinions, a way of life. Everything is marketed to us. That is why that's why influencer culture is such a big thing right now. Anything that's influenced is actually being marketed to you. So for me, there's so much fluff out there, so much of the overdone verbiage of using the best of fill in the blank, that to me, it's like everyone's gonna say that they're the best at everything. But no one
Mhm.
can be as authentic as the brand that you are because someone can copy your brand, but not your essence. So for me,
Mhm.
authenticity in my work is the staple of what
Yeah.
makes it stand out. And I think
Wow.
that it's great because when your customers look at your presence online and they feel connected to it, and that's what brings them to connect with you as a service or business, I've done my job.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you think the biggest mistakes that business owners make with their websites?
They leave it last. They leave it last. They'll do Facebook ad campaigns, they'll do Google ad campaigns, they'll build their social media following, but there's no like almost like your brand Bible, you could call it your storefront, whatever it is. Their website is the heart of any marketing campaign that you set out to do. So when it's not where it should be, because what your website is your foundation. There's your brand, which is what you need to establish at the top, and then your website, and then any campaign leads to that website. So if you don't have a website that connects with people, that is built for functionality and conversion, and represents your business well, I find after almost 15 years of dealing with this that campaigns don't work as well. Because you can have a really, really fancy looking campaign making you have all these like luster, and then you land on the website and it's almost like Vancouver's real estate market of 4 point whatever million for a shoebox.
Yes.
Don't give people the wrong idea.
Yes.
People need consistency. If you're looking at this shiny box of campaigns and you lead people to like this shoebox of a website, you are actually disrupting that experience. So
Mhm.
if you have a website you are not proud of sharing, that's a red flag.
Yeah. Yeah. My next question was, what do you wish entrepreneurs understood about marketing? But I don't think I need to ask you that question because I think that you have already answered it. And yeah, can you tell me then how are you able to create like how get my wording right here? How important is it that you see the personality of the person you're working with in the website or and in the brand, or do you think that's important?
Oh, very. And that's why I'm so passionate about working with local business owners, especially and the owners themselves, as opposed to going through corporate and doing a bunch of like jumps through the hoop. Um, is that I get to see and witness the heart of the business.
Mhm.
But don't get me wrong, I've seen business owners also be like, well, no, just do what you want. And that doesn't work for me because it's like, well, if I do what I want, it's not gonna be not necessarily be what you want to see. So I still need that consultation stage. I still need to get to that getting to know stage. And I just find that when people disconnect from their brand and just leave it as, okay, you do whatever you want, it doesn't become as successful as it should be because you're disconnected. You have to be really invested to be putting the work out into this because it's a big stage. It's learning about yourself and your business. Going
Mhm.
through the stages of building a website and having someone represent you accurately and authentically, it's a learning curve. And if
Mhm.
unless you're willing to put the time and effort to have that discussion to it to be fully represent, there's going to be a disconnect.
Yeah. Yeah. So important that I think a lot of people don't realize how important it is to let what you to share about yourself and your business and your life, but of course keeping yourself protected at the same time as well. But even for yourself, you've shared a bit about your life, about your childhood, about how difficult it was. That is going to draw certain people to you who need someone like you to help. Because there's lots of different people out there and we don't all connect with everybody, and
Mhm.
that's perfectly okay,
Mhm.
because there is someone for everyone to connect with. But if you don't let them know who you are, they may just end up going off to the next person and the next person.
Absolutely. And I always try, as I always strive to make people understand that I care. I care a lot about you're not just a number to me. I care about how I represent you. And
Mhm.
so I'm very meticulous with my work
Yeah,
because of that.
yeah, yeah. Well, what is one simple thing a business owner can do this week or this coming week to improve their website or their marketing? What would you suggest? Something simple.
Sit in a brand that you feel most represents you. And what I mean by that is, again, if you're no longer connecting with the brand that you originally built, it's time to go back to the drawing board and date your brand a little bit. Get to know who you are, your business. How has it changed from day one to now? And is there something about your marketing strategy that doesn't align anymore?
Hmm.
You need to take the time to address it. A lot of
That's it.
people go day by day, like just completely ignoring that one thing that they just need to feel confident in.
Yeah, such great advice. Fabulous, fabulous tip. So, what do you hope listeners can take away from this podcast um, about you and your story?
I think that anyone, you know what? I'm going to take a step back from that. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you can be an entrepreneur, but you have to make the decision, the proactive decision, and know that going into this, you are going to be opening up a lot of scars that you probably thought had healed. It's a healing journey for sure, and you're gonna have to take it one step at a time. There's no
Mhm.
one day you wake up and you're like, I'm perfectly fine now. Unless
Yes,
you live in complete delusion. But
yes.
like, but I mean, you have to love the journey that comes with it. And I know it's oversaid, but you really do have to love the journey of entrepreneurship and everything it throws at you. You have to love being able to problem solve, and you have to absolutely learn to have your own boundaries as well, which is really, really important. There's
Mhm.
going to be a lot of people who are supporting you. There's going to be a lot of people who are rooting for you to fail, and you're going to have to be comfortable experiencing and witnessing
Yeah,
those type of people.
yeah. I went into real estate, and the first 18 months I fell flat on my face. I went bankrupt. I stood in line at food banks. I was a single mom of three boys. I'm telling you, I tried to get my old job back. It wasn't available. And it was the universe saying, no, no, this is your path, because 36 years later, that was my past. But I'll tell you, the biggest thing that really twisted in my brain and got me thinking differently was, this is a business. This isn't just like a hobby, Julie. This is a business. And as soon as I realized that, my mind shifted. Okay, I'm actually in business. How am I now? What do I do? And when I did that, I was able to build systems and things started to fall into place. And I think that that's so important for so many entrepreneurs.
That is so, so true. I couldn't agree more because there's a lot of people that hide behind this is just a hobby and actually holding themselves back from their own growth and success because they
Yeah.
hide behind I'm not really trying. It's just a side thing that I'm doing. But you could make it a
Yes.
business, but you have to
Yeah.
trust yourself in what you do.
Yeah. But they say that because that's their fear. So by saying that, they're not, if they fail, oh well, it was just a hobby. They're not,
Yes.
and that was the other thing I realized. I got to have 2 feet in, not 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Yes.
And when I
Absolutely.
again committed that way, it wasn't magic, but you get on the right trajectory.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a shift. I mean, not to say that it's not a push as well to have kids relying on you to feed them.
Yes, of course, of course. Yes.
Completely
Yes.
different ball game to just be taking care of yourself to now you're taking care of yourself plus three boys.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, what's one message you wish every woman who feels like she doesn't belong could hear?
I would say that belonging, it's really starts from within, not without. You have to be comfortable and confident in who you are, your strengths, what you offer, your purpose. That's when you start to realize where it is you actually belong. Because if you don't know that, you don't know the heart of who you are, and you're kind of just floating around and hoping someone will save or catch you from wherever place you're at, you're not taking control of your own life and where you are supposed to be. You're kind of just a floater.
No,
So be that
yeah,
person who knows who you are, confident in who you are and what you offer, and your people will find you.
yeah. Wow. Well, such great advice. I have loved this conversation, and I don't want it to end, but unfortunately, we're getting close to our time. So many valuable tips, personal growth, business, just inspiration. I appreciate you so much. I want to let everyone know that I will have Elle's information, how you can reach out to her. So if you feel connected to her, if you want to look at branding, starting from scratch, or rebranding, or whatever it is that you feel you need, sometimes you just need a facelift of your business. You can reach out to her, and we'll have all of her information in the show notes. Will you be able to do that? So, Elle, let me ask you my final question. What is next for you?
Oh my goodness. That's a loaded question. But this is kind of business, kind of personal because I live and breathe being on the computer, very connected to digital all the time. So I have made it my mission now to actually, in a way, disconnect in my personal life. And we're thinking of doing a hobby farm, building our own garden, buying all the chickens and animals, and having our girls, ourselves, our family connected in the earth, because that's the real luxury of life, is all of this around us. It's
Oh,
ours. It's ours to have, and sometimes we really just need to touch grass.
I agree with you. Oh my goodness. A hobby farm of miniature little cute animals.
So I told my fiance we're actually getting married in less than a month now.
Oh,
Thank
congratulations.
you. I told him, like, if anyone asks me, what is the tell that you have reached your absolute success in life? And I showed them a picture of this cute Highland cow on my phone. I'm like, I just want
Oh,
a pet cow.
I just want a pet cow.
I'm an
Ah,
oxymoron. I don't know what to tell you.
no, no, I get it, because you're right. To be successful, you have to work, and you have to work hard. Brian Tracy said we work every 8 hours a day for to live, to survive. Every hour after 8 hours is towards our success.
Mhm.
So we're driven. And if not everybody needs to do what I do or you do, but that's it. But to have that beautiful outlet of where you can just care for, I have cats. I don't know.
That still counts. That
Yeah,
counts.
it does count. It does count. But I understand because I am as well on the computer a lot.
Yeah,
And
it's
we
like it's a
need,
great reset to be out in nature and
yes,
really reconnect back in the roots. But I
yes.
also am a big believer that life shouldn't just be on the weekends.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
You know, if you want to
absolutely.
go do your shopping trip midweek, you
Yeah,
do that. If that's what's going to help you reset because you've been going through a lot of stress, you
yeah,
do that. You can
yeah,
challenge the status quo.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, I don't even want to go, but I have to. We have to. So I just want to thank you, Elle, for agreeing to do this. It was a fabulous conversation. I've learned so much. You have inspired me. I'm going to go look at my website later today, and I need to take a look at that. But But yeah, yes, I and thank you for sharing so personally about what you do. I have founded Women Like Me. We've got hundreds of women who have told their personal stories, and we've got 35 books out, and I've published over 350 women's true life stories. And every time I know how important it is to share those because we want to, like, someone may never even contact you, but we want them to contact you, but they may never contact you to tell you how much this changed their life, just this little bit of time that we spent together. So I thank you for that, and I appreciate you very much. And
Well,
hopefully we
thank
can do this again someday.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. You're a fabulous host.
Oh, thank you. And remember, everybody, if you want to reach out to Al, you want to get more information, go to the show notes. All of her links will be there. So thanks, everybody, for being here. And we will see you on the next episode of Women Like Me Stories in Business. Take care, everybody.